Hey, what's up, everybody? We're jumping in here. Um, this is something a little different, and I mean, granted, it's similar to what I've been doing with the Raiders and the Patriots, jumping in, taking advantage of the weekly roster feature that Madden provides that I've been using for years now. I love just being able to go in, find a team that's hurting and go in and say, hey, can I turn around this season, let alone rebuild them back to prominence, right? Well, I don't think there's any chance we're going to be able to turn this team around this season, which is quite all right. What we've done, and the biggest question was, can we take a team mid-season and relocate them? And guess what? Madden gives you that ability. So what we have here is the Carolina Panthers, aka and now newly branded Toronto Blues. Why did I pick Blues? I don't know. It came down to a couple of choices, and then I just used a random number generator to say whatever team is, and I was said okay, I'm gonna any random number between 0 and 5. That team that's that many places to the left from where I was after just blindly scrolling through and then landing on a team and saying, okay, now use a random number generator. Boom, whatever team that was, two places over, because that's what the number came up to, uh, is going to be the team. And it was the Blues. Toronto, I picked, right? I didn't want to move out of the I didn't want a North American, I want to say continent of North America. I just wanted to, I mean, a couple of choices were the Australia and Japan, right? And Tokyo. And I was like, huh, huh. I always like London, and they're playing games in London now, 4 or 5 times a year now. I'm like, so why not have a team there too? But I was like, you know what? It just made more sense to stay in North America. And then Toronto just shined to me because it's a huge market, hardcore fans. It might have been loyal fans. So let's give them a team, right? Let's give them something that can rival the Buffalo Bills. And so we picked the Panthers, and that's what we've done. We've moved them to Toronto. We still have Bryce Young, we have Andy Dalton, and we have Anthony Brown that we pulled off of the practice squad in Arizona. Yeah, I like to have three quarterbacks. I like to have that emergency quarterback there. Right now, we only have three running backs. Jonathan Brooks. Yes, it's not lost on me that that is also the name of this channel. Is still out injured. So we got Chuba Hubbard, Miles Sanders, and Blackshear. I did pull Watkins off of the Steelers practice squad and also Terrence Marshall, I believe, and I can't remember whose practice squad, might have been Cincinnati's, um, brought them in. Terrence Marshall is thought as a future starter. That is his tag. So we're like, okay, well, let's see if he can earn it, especially since the Panthers just got rid of Jonathan Mingo and sent him on to the Cowboys for a fourth round pick. Xavier Leggett, right? I was very high on him in the draft. I was kind of actually hoping the Cowboys would find a way to talk themselves into a wide receiver at some point, but they just didn't have the draft capital, the extra amount of picks, or the ability to just pick him when he finally was drafted. Real quick, we could take a look and see. I believe it's right here, and then we can see he's already got 26 catches, 4 touchdowns on the year. But if we really awards, here we go. He was drafted first round, 32nd pick, final pick. So there was no way. There was no way the Cowboys were going to go after him. So it's for me, it's cool to have that team that has someone that I was very interested in the draft on that team. Offensive line, we've got Iquanu, we got Damian Lewis, we got Christensen, who is actually the backup left tackle playing in at center. I picked up, um, oh, no wonder he's not starting. So I signed an injured player, so I'm gonna have to put him on IR and find a player that's not injured. Oh my goodness. Life, right? Got Robert Hunt, right? Tyre Phillips, I signed and moved him over into guard. We got, Taylor Moton, right? They're paying him a lot of money, and at his age, I don't see him getting better. There's always a chance of decline there as well. So, and then I can't even pronounce his name, and I'm going to try just Nyman. I'm just going to say we got Trimble at tight end, Sanders, and then Ian Thomas bringing up the rear. But you can see down here that Ian Thomas is also my de facto fullback since we do not have one. So that is the offense. Defense, some changes. All right. I went out and I said, you know what? We're not winning anything, right? So let's go ahead and get some real talent in here at the correct positions. Your nose tackle has to be able to, has to be able to absorb two blockers and stand up to it. And a 300 or less pound, anything under 310, I just don't see it. I mean, unless they are just overwhelmingly athletic and strong and capable, I don't see that. And then that's one of the things I will say about Shy Tuttle. I don't know, and I just don't see it as him being that straight up nose tackle for you that you really want, right? So I went out and I got Sayaki Ika, right? Look, and you can see he's got a lower overall, but you know what? He's strong, he's big, he's almost 360. Let's just see you know, what kind of player he can be. And then, like I said, we got nothing to lose at this point, right? The other thing too is he's the nose tackle. Most teams force you into a nickel or dime situation. He won't even be on the field. And then Jordan Phillips was out on the free agent waiver wire. We do know that he's back in Buffalo, or that's the word that he's going back to Buffalo. But since he wasn't signed by Buffalo yet, according to Madden, we took him. Um, the issue with him and whatever's going on with him in Dallas is it's a Dallas thing. And being a Cowboys fan myself, I know that a lot of times they do. There have been instances in the past where players have not agreed with the training staff and the doctors, and then the Cowboys pride themselves on having one of the best training staffs and doctors um, in the in the NFL. But there are those instances, Jay Ratliff back in the day was out for extreme extended period of time due to injury, right? Even came to a point where there was an altercation, slight altercation between him and Jerry Jones in the locker room about his injuries. And it's hard to determine and hard to say that was Jay Ratliff really as hurt as the Cowboys were making out, or were they erring on the side of caution more than the player would have liked, to the point where the player just got fed up with answering questions about his injury state, where he probably disagreed with what the training staff was saying, right? And then didn't like the fact that people were questioning how injured he was at that point. You see what I'm saying? So sometimes they erred too much in this degree. Jordan Phillips was not playing the way that he was expected to play. That wrist injury happened, and he went on the IR. Even though Jordan Phillips says, "I don't know what they're talking about." And then you see what I'm saying there. To me, I being a Cowboys fan, but even being a Cowboys fan, I am still raising a red flag there. If the player is disagreeing with the diagnosis of the training staff there, somebody should be investigating that because you are required to accurately report someone's injuries to the NFL. And just finding, dubious ways to put someone on IR, it may not be the best thing. So yeah, just saying. So he's out there. He's not injured. We put him on here. We need a right end, right? And then also brought in Tristan Hill. So we got Jordan Phillips and Tristan Hill added to the squad to see if Tristan Hill will be a future staple on this squad, right? Also brought Farley up from the practice squad. I'm like, you know what? This guy still has a future starter tag. Well, let's see if it's for real. You know what I mean? Can he play up that way? You got J.C. Horn and then Michael Jackson, who is, a nice, pleasant surprise. Was a former Cowboy pick up. I don't know if he was drafted or undrafted, but I think he was a drafted pick from the Cowboys and then eventually has moved himself around and is a pleasant surprise to see on here. Lonnie Johnson Jr. Um, right now, he's going to be helping with the safeties and things like that. If I'm not mistaken, when he was with, and I could be confusing with a different Johnson, but I thought he was with the Texans and was a safety back then, a couple of years ago. So that one is pretty interesting. And then we also have Dane Jackson. So that rounds out the our cornerbacks, and then Xavier Woods, former Cowboy, is playing strong, right? And then backed up by Robinson and Johnson, and then over here Franklin is, and that's why because Fuller I believe is injured, so that's why we got going there. And then to be honest with you, I might be sliding Johnson up in there. Just I am a big proponent of some sometimes your corners, if they can tackle, can play free safety for you, right? And then you want that coverage ability and that ball hawking skill there at your free safety. So yeah. And then I brought in Brandon Smith, moved him from middle to outside to help out. Also brought in my Jay Sanders. DJ Johnson is a very interesting one here, and we'll see how that plays out. Trevin Wallace in my Cowboys franchise, we actually did end up trading and bringing him in, and he just took off. So we'll see how that goes. I'm not a huge Josie Jewell fan, but he is the basically the starting first middle linebacker with Wallace backing him up. And then I brought in Rashad Evans. Just say, hey, we need some depth, and I like to move Smith with that speed to the outside. And you got Clowney, who, in my opinion, just never. I mean, underachieves. Underachieves. This guy, when he came in, he was supposed to be right. And then I put him and Chase Young kind of in the same category. They're scary as heck, but they just don't blow you away like you really thought they would or really think they should. But, you know, we'll see. Now, his thing was when he first started out, that first season, 2 seasons, those injuries just kept getting him, the knee and then the something with the patella or something. It was just crazy. So, yeah. And then, you got your special teams, Johnny Hecker and Eddie Pinero. Um, with the specialists, Jackson is going to be in the slot. My J and Clowney, at the edges. And then, this is the way I'm looking at it. Ashawn Robinson and Jordan Phillips with Tristan Hill being backing those guys up. And then you got your main guys here right there. Just not sure why Robinson is there. I have to double check that one because that's not the way it should have been. At least it's not the way I set it up. Then you got Hubbard. Hubbard's double duty. I just didn't see putting Sanders in at the Sanders. I put him in at third down. Reason I put him at third down is because you kind of in the league you don't want your main running back's going to get in this play in the way that things are and with the substitutions and stuff. Your main running back's going to get roughly, if depending on what style, what offense you're running, 20 or so carries per game. So if you got him in as the third down back also, even though he should be the third down back, if you got him in as a third down back, then you're talking 25 to 30 carries a game, and that's not Hubbard's game. So no, Terrace Marshall will be our slot receiver, and then we have our full gambit of people on the practice squad. For now, I do have practice squad stealing on. Usually I turn it off. Main reason being is the way Madden is set up, a lot of times the people in your practice squad get taken over higher rated players out on the free agent wire, right? In the free agency. And it's like, wait a minute, you got free agents out there that are higher rated at the same position. Why didn't you just go grab them instead of stealing this person off of my practice squad that you still have to pay also? So is it don't see the benefit, especially since that player is um, lower quality, right? Now, the other thing is, and the part that gets me about Madden is in the real life in the NFL, you get to protect a set number of players. Madden, I don't know, I don't understand why there couldn't be a setting here and a flag that you just create that says protected, 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 right? Didn't mean to click on the guy, but protected, right? Why can you do that? That doesn't, I don't know, that helps no one. Okay. So that's where we are here. And then one of the things that I forgot to do, and I guess you guys can get to sit through it, is sliders. So for this one, I don't touch these guys. I just leave them. I don't really care about those. These are the ones that I really do mess with. And this is my philosophy, right? The younger you are, the more apt you are to learn. These is kind of like that whole, like with babies and children, right? They learn faster when they're younger. And then as you get older, as a matter of fact, that's that. Then mm, you never stop learning. You just your capacity to learn just shrinks. Now, back in some of mine, I actually would go as high as I'd take this out to 200, then 190, 180, 170, 160, 150, on down till we get to 30. 30's that age, right? That's our cutoff. Boom, just 100. And then we move in the other direction every year after. And then regression rate. Well, quarterbacks play forever. Running backs do not. Tight ends play forever. Wide receivers can, but generally don't. Fullbacks, you know, tackles, guards, with centers playing longer than everybody, right? Defensive ends. I don't tend to mess with them. Defensive tackles play longer, and then so I'll give them more time. Middle linebackers play longer. Outside linebackers I don't mess with. Corners, right? Safeties. I mean, just look at Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, right? They've been around forever. Punters last forever. Kickers last forever. Now, rate for ages, right? I don't mess with them until they're above 30. Now, once you hit 30, boom, right? And then boom, boom, right? And then over 30, 35 and over, you just, And then to me, this for me it works the best, right? Because what it's doing is it basically says, you know what, everybody gets you just is a flat rate for, you know, XP. It's just flat, right? And then what modifies it is your age, right? Your age, and then the regression, and then position, you know, what kind of player, what player you are, and then as far as regression, what position you play, and then age plays a big part. But age doesn't play a part until you are older. Now, the other thing too is if somebody tells me, well, you're still regressing at this point, then you can make the argument that maybe this should be cut down, right, to zero. And then actually the regression rate shouldn't start until they hit that age that you want regression added. Okay. So that's that there. And then real quick here, the other thing that I jump in, and I use a version, and it's kind of a combination of Sim Gaming Network and Shady Gaming sliders. Now, what I do is, uh, and for now, and you'll see that this does not even help. And then run blocking, D8, right? Now, ball security. Ball security, I bumped this up to 70 for player. Now, here's where I have issues, and it's annoying to have to do it this way. Um, but and then I take this down to 40, and then this one, it's annoying because now you're making up for a deficiency in the game and how the game is set, right? Is created. Instead of just saying, well, yeah, I want my defense to be top notch. No, what we're still doing, and we still haven't found it yet. Now, in Shady Gaming puts it up to 95, if not all the way up to 100, um, for both of these, right? For pass defense reaction time and pass coverage. And, you know, this is an effort to actually get your defenders to cover the wide receivers and to run with them, right? And it's like, are you serious? And then, but yes, the lower and lower you put this, right, back to 50, the more wide open receivers you just see running through your defense. And it is outrageous. It is like, what are you doing? So now, here's where the differences come. Sim Gaming tunes this down a little bit, not much. Shady Gaming tunes this all the way down to 5, right? I'm like, I can't do it. I can't do it, right? And then I just knock a couple off of the pass blocking just to make sure that there is some to help make sure there's pass rush, but I don't want it wide open. I don't do with the wide receiver catching, I just throw to 45 because they catch everything anyway, so it doesn't matter. Run blocking, I leave the same. Ball security, I boost them to 55. They have no problem. CPU running backs have no problem running the ball. Okay? So it's not like I need to help them much. And then I take the interceptions, and this is the part that really irks me that I have to do it this way, but you have to take the interceptions down, right? If you don't, they will intercept anything and everything that's thrown into the secondary. And it's like, are you serious, right? And then you leave these the same. Now, I do this because kickers are consistently kicking 60-yard field goals now like crazy. But I also do this because our kickers are not the most accurate kickers in the in the world. And then same with punting. I just take this down a little bit too, right? Punting is punting. And then I actually do boost this up. I've always made the kickoff power a little bit more just because I want the ball to go down further. I guess just for stat wise. And then I take injuries to 23. Now, fatigue, and then this is another thing where there's discrepancy, and it's really based on preference. Now, Sim Gaming Network takes fatigue and boosts it way up, right? But they say that's because of the other changes that are made and changes that they do specifically to the auto subs that you want to boost it way up there. It's, or your players will never get tired. Um, Men speed, yes. If you take in the higher you make the min speed player threshold, the faster all players are across the board, right? So a 98 player, a 92 player seems almost as fast as a 98 player, right? The lower you make that number, the wider the discrepancy gap, right? Um, Me personally, I don't want to do anything that artificially makes my players slower because technically they're slow enough and there's issues enough in the game that I don't need them to be. But I don't want to make it so that everybody's on the same speed level because it's not. That's not the case. That never will be the case. Now, here's another thing. And offsides, false start 70. Holding, I I don't drop down as much as the other guys because I do want the offensive lines to hold up. I do want them to protect, right? Even though the reason we just did what we did with the offsides is the if you tune the offsides way up, I think Shady Gaming tunes it way up all the way, right? To 99 or 95. And that to me is just too far. And but you will some of the really and it depends on the team you're controlling at that point. Because some teams aren't as affected by it because of the way Madden has teams basically evaluated teams. You know, the Cowboys always do well in Madden. They just that's how they are, right? The Eagles, they're always a strong team in Madden. Even though, yes, they are real life, but you could put an awful roster on the Cowboys and somehow they're going to play better than if you had made that same roster for the Panthers. Uh, Even being a Cowboys fan, I am willing to admit that. So it does. So what I do is I bring holding down to 45. And then so we got the offsides to help the pass rush. The false start just makes it so that it's an even split, right? And that the defenders aren't just jumping off sides all the time without the occasional false start from the offensive line as well. And then holding, we don't want to tune it all the way down, but we do want to tune it down a little bit. That way, how do you say, it helps with the pass rush. But if you tune it down too far, then the holding penalties, right? If there's, it's weird. And that's the part that really bugs me, right? Because you have to, there's a fine line you're walking, right? Because you want the offensive lineman to protect, right? But you also don't want them to get, how do you say, overly cautious in their protection. So they're not protecting to the best of their ability. So you got to go one way or the other. Also, boom, bringing the face mask down, right? Helps raise the amount of wrap up tackles you're going to get. Why? Why? Why is that a factor? These penalty settings are just supposed to show what is the likelihood of a referee catching you with on a face mask, right? That's what it's supposed to be. But yes, so you got to bring it down. Defensive pass interference. Are you catching my are you seeing the pattern now? Defensive pass interference, you got to take all so far down so that why? So that your corners will actually defend against the receivers, right? So the higher the defensive pass interference, the more that the corners and then I'm going to say this is not exactly the way this is not how it works, but if you think about it from an IRL mindset, it's like, oh, they're so touchy. I can't cover, I can't touch the receivers, right? So the higher defensive pass interference likelihood, right, of being called, the less likely the defenders are going to be to actually cover the receivers. So you got to tune it down to get the defenders to cover. I don't mess with these, right? Um, illegal block in the back, I take down to 30, or do I take it down to 15? I think it don't matter. Intentional grounding, you turn that off, and your players, right? Why am I tuning down, roughing the passer? Because it helps the pass rush. You starting to see the whole pattern here. It's like the actual AI for your players, and not as much for CPU, but mainly for your players, is that the more likely they are going to get called for a penalty, the less aggressive they become, right? And the less likely they will actually make plays. I think I'd actually put it down here. And then we turn off roughing the kicker, and you turn off running into the kicker. Running into the kicker is not even called anymore, so might as well just turn it off. I do not turn off illegal contact, even though in Sim Gaming Network, I believe they do. They just turn those off. This might actually be lower, but because I'm doing this mostly from memory. But this is the settings that we will be using, right? And then people will say, "No, that's cheating." It's not cheating, because guess what? I have seen games, and I've actually posted a game where pass block, I believe, was set at 60. It was it 58 or 62? One of the two. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it was the Patriots. And we were sacked 10 times by the Miami Dolphins. So it was the Patriots. Um, yeah, we could come back and say, well, the offensive line sucked. Okay, you tell me, aside from the Giants playing Philadelphia however many years ago, when was the last time you seen 10 sacks in a game by one team, right? And to me, that is atrocious, right? At some point, something is broken there when you got 10 sacks, and there's nothing I could do about it. And I'm like, and then again, so I sit there and I go, do I need to tune up the pass blocking again? What else can I tune up, right? So you got to tune up pass blocking, and then tune up. That's why holding I've actually made higher. It used to be at 30. I put holding higher, and actually for a minute I had it at 55. But what I noticed was on every end round or every sweep or outside zone run, one out of every three was a holding call. And I was like, are you kidding me? So you couldn't, so holding can't be at 55. It's got to be 50 or less. And I'm like, all right, so let's put it at 45. So that's where I'm experimenting at now, 45. So that's where we're at now with that. Okay. So sorry to be so long-winded on this. And one of the other things is, I guess I could do import custom sliders, but I don't think I've set my custom sliders to this, right? So and then it doesn't kill me to just know what the sliders are anyway. So I believe, yep, that's it. I don't touch edit draft class strength because we've imported our draft class, and it is Mad Mike's draft class. And as a matter of fact, we'll take a look at that real quick. Um, and then if you notice, this part kills me. This should be defaulted to be by rank, and it should really be across all, just rank, right? There should be this one master list of all 450 players in the class, 1 through 50. And if you're only going to show me 50, then it should be the top 50 here. And I shouldn't have to sort it myself. It should just come this way, right? We know that all these things have changed just because when they put together this draft class, they probably went in, and then this is the part that kills me also. And but you can't find a draft class without it. And same here. To me, it's like, and then I'm not trying to disparage anybody, because one of the things I truly appreciate is being able to go in and download a draft class with actual real names and positions and schools, and something close to height, weight, that makes sense. And so, yes, I appreciate that. Couple of things real quick here, though, and this is just, speaking real talk here, is although we appreciate this, what you've done is you've created a process in which is actually going to create almost the same amount of work for us. I'm going to hit left stick. I'm going to go edit draft class. I'm going to go into the draft class. This is it, right? And one of the things I check for when I go into a draft class is I go and I look, right? And the hard part is to not uh, is to not pay attention to all the other stuff. But what I do is I go and I look at physique, right? Nothing bothers me more than a physique that's not realistic. What I honestly suggest for anybody making a defensive tackles, big defensive lineman, 300-pound lineman, and 300-pound offensive lineman, right? This really should be the makeup, right? Because the bigger their arm, you see that they have there's muscle underneath, but they're heavy. So there's fat covering it, right? So that you don't have, you see these big muscular bodybuilder arms now, right? With the veins and everything coming out. That's not really what you see on offensive and defensive linemen, right? At that 300-pound mark. Take that all the way over here. Their legs are not, like I said, not all of them. Some of them are bottom heavy, but not all of them. Bring it about here, and then, and this is what I sometimes have to do is come in here and then I shift their weight, one pound one way or the other to make them truly look like a decent offensive lineman, right? And then you leave that and you say save changes, right? Here's the other thing. So I go in and I check that because the last thing I want, and then like I said, so now what I got here, I got this 360-pound man with veins popping and everything in his offense. So now what it truly means is I got to go through myself, right, for my own sanity, right, and you know readjust and edit each and every single one of them. Now, the other problem that we run into is, and then thankfully, this person who, we can count on at least, has come in and said, yeah, defensive alignment, yeah, I got to do this. You see, this guy is just the arms. The arms is killing me. So I got to go in and check every single one. There are some people that'll create a big 300-pound guy and not move the physique bars at all. So then you just got some tall, scrawny dude that is supposed to be 300 plus, and it's you got to edit them too. So that's one thing I always say, that's good housekeeping. If you're going to do it all the way and do it correctly, right? This is the other thing that bugs me. And the reason it bugs me is this, right? I don't know his name, but I'm just going to say his first name begins with a T, right? Or L. Let's just say L, right? I'm gonna call him Latu Tiamalo, right? I don't know his name, but that's what I'm gonna say. And then what I'm going to do is, if I didn't really know how to spell his first name, or if Madden is being Madden and won't accept his first name, Madden will never not take the first initial. You see that? Now, if his name really was Latu and Madden wasn't taking Latu, which is not true, it will take that. But if his name was something really crazy and it wasn't taking it because and the other thing is, what if I didn't know how to spell his name, right? And it's like, but I know it begins with a C, or I know it begins with an L, or I know it begins with a T, right? You're not breaking anything. And as a matter of fact, you're not break. I know who this guy is, right? I don't know who this guy is, but I know who this guy is, right? 9 times out of 10, you're going to know who Q Judkins. You know who he is. You know who Quinshawn Judkins is. If you don't know how to spell his name, so be it. But you know who he's supposed to be. Malachi. If you don't know how to spell Malachi, you know it's M. Put it there. I have to say this. I don't know who this guy is, right? But he's a top 37 pick, right? He's a second round, fifth pick in the second round. That's where he's supposed to fall in at, right? If it won't take the spelling, or if you don't know how to spell it, phonetically spell it out, right? So anything that's close, it's like, okay, I know there are a-holes that are gonna burn you for misspelling somebody's name. I'd rather see a misspelled name or phonetically spelled name because Madden wouldn't take the real name, right? If the person, what I'm saying? Like Fuchs. I don't think Madden will take Fuchs, right? But it might take Fucs, and even if it wouldn't take, Fuks or uh CHS. If it wouldn't take those, it might take just without the H. It might. You never know. Play with it, right? Give us something close. And guess what? Just ignore the a-holes that just but here, I don't know who this I gotta go look this person up and then I gotta figure out why you couldn't come up with the name, and then I gotta do it myself. And now all of a sudden, same with this guy. Is his name Stackhouse? Stackhouse keeps coming to my head, but I don't know. But I have to go find it. Again, I know what it sounds like. It sounds very unappreciative, and I hate that it sounds that way. But it is also kind of a thing that, like I said, I don't like to do things half. But you know, I don't swear, so and that's the way it comes. It's incomplete. Is only done halfway. If you're going to do, which is why I don't do these lists myself, because I don't have the time or in, basically the want to go and do all 450 names, right? And try to figure it out. And then you have to keep updating it because some players declare and some players decide, oh, I'm going to stay in, even though you think they might, right? You don't know who's coming out for sure. And then by the time you do, the season's over, right? And then but you're working on your eighth iteration of this list, and trust me, like I said again, it is truly appreciated. It is honestly truly appreciated. I think Madden in truth is missing something huge, because the other thing that I like to see Madden add in is retro. What do I mean by retro? It's like, hey, if Madden were to charge me $5.99 and gave me the gave me a file, let me download my file, right? Starting the league in 2005, and it gave me a file of draft classes, 2006, 7, 8, real draft classes of the players that came through, right? And let me play that retro, I would do it. I I would have no problems. And if you wanted to package it all together in one file and charge me 9.99, I'd give you $10 if I could go back and play from the 2005, 2003, 2000 season, you know, and with all the draft classes already there so that I can draft, you know, and decide, oh, if I'm playing the Cowboys, do I draft Tony Romo, or do I trust that he makes it to, as a free agent, and then I somehow bring him in as a free agent, right? At what, when do I draft someone like DeMarcus Ware, right? And then what I'm thinking is, do I still draft, and again, foreknowledge is, a thing, but it's like some of these undrafted players that came out that are the greatest players of all time at their position. And then you have um, other players that were drafted very high that were bust, right? And then so how does that change? And then I would love to be able to do that. But you want the head coaches too. You want the league as it is. And to me, this is a missed opportunity for Madden with this kind of gamers, right? People like myself, fans like that want to go back and say, okay, I want to start from the 2010 season. I want to start from 2015 and start redrafting. I want to redraft the league, right? Not just doing these fantasy drafts, but actually, hey, I want the league as it is. And then I want to pick my team and then take them through the last 10 years, And so that is the thing. So yeah. So now I will have to go back and look at all these guys, and I mean, part of me, appreciates that because guess what? You can't help but see what you see, right? So there's some flags right now that are jumping at me real quick, but it is what it is. Now, in truth, I am a little concerned. And reason being is this, right? The only 80 overall player that you have in your draft class is a kicker, right? And then the next guy, the number 3 pick overall, and then Travis Hunter, right? And then Pierce, and then Burton. So 78 is the highest rated player. The other thing is, and then here's the thing, and this is why, and some I have to go in and do it myself. Where's my quarterbacks? Where is my quarterbacks? Shador Sanders at 72. He won't be drafted in the first round. I don't care what the mock drafts are going to say or anything, and I don't care what position you put him, right? But if you look here, Shador Sanders or Quinn Ewers, right, at 72 overall is not going. Milrow is 71, and then back at 70, and then where's Aller? Oh my goodness, right? And so what I find myself having to do is actually go in and boost every single one of these to fight against, right? Because I want my quarterbacks to go early, and they're not going to go early at this rate. There's no way. A 72 overall quarterback is not going in the first round. I mean, unless the desperation is there, right? But yeah, these guys are not going. So these overalls are too low. Not saying you need 80, 90 overall players all over the place, but, and then this is the other thing, Madden already predetermines that for some of the stuff that it makes you do, one of the things is you have to have an 80 or better overall player at a certain position in order to complete, not at a certain position, but in the draft, in order to complete one of the goals that you set in your press conferences. And that's when they ask you, what are you doing in the off season? Well, I'm going to win the draft. How? One of the two things. You're going to do it one of two ways. You're going to have a 78 or better overall player in, the 5th round or higher, right? Or lower, or you're going to have an 80 or overall better player drafted in a key position in the first 3 rounds. There's no right here. This is an automatic fail. This draft class automatically fails your Madden goals. One, because there's only four players aside from the kicker that is 78 or better. And it may even be that it's 75 or better. Even if it was 75 or better, I mean, this guy is supposed to be a gem, and he will be. But by the time you get to the draft, he would have already moved up on everybody's board. Same with this guy, right? So any of these guys that are down here already would have moved up, and the teams would have drafted him before we got that far. So you would not get that player. You wouldn't luck into that player. That's the only way it would have to be absolute luck, right? That you would find that player. So you wouldn't find a player in either category at the time you need them to be there. And then the first one, it's a shame because it has to be 80 or over. So you have to have in your draft Travis Hunter, even though you're not going to draft him. But if you are going to be lucky enough to get there, you have to go in and boost him to 81, 82, right? And in truth, in your draft class, you want three or four players, 81 or 82 above, and then see if somewhere, so that is a viable option, right? And then um, technically, it really depends on your league, right? As far as, well, what's the average overall starting player? What's their, the average starting player? What's their overall? And then you kind of want to try to build out a bell curve going from there, right? Oh, this many players are fitting into this range, this many players are fitting in this range. And the thing is, a good draft class, you have to have some starters in there. You have to have people that are going to be able to come on board and actually start, especially your first round picks. And then your second round picks have got to be high enough overall that they're actually going to fight for starting position. Again, like I said, it's good to have sleepers, which this is cool, but like I said, the your highest overall is too low. And it's because right now this class has set me up for failure for my goals. Whichever draft goal I have, I'm set up for failure. Especially drafting an 80 or better player in the first 3 rounds. So yeah. All right. So so that class is going to need work, right? Nothing else I can do there. And then I think I have talked enough. I think so. That is what we got. Next one, the next video is going to be we are going to go in. And then here's another thing right here, right? And I've been saying this quite a bit now. Madden, please change this up. EA, please change this up. What I would love to see, right? And then since we're 10 weeks in, I'm going to half pads, right? And I can't. And then I, I got to be honest with you, nothing bothers me more than this here, right? You're trying to be, and it just is not. It doesn't do it. Now, here's what I'd like to see. In game, you can go in and you can set your coverage. You can set depth of drop for curls, outs, and the other thing, right? And digs, I believe. I can't remember exactly all the verbiage for it, but you can set all that, right? All the depth of coverage. You can set cover by, overall speed, things like that. You can go in and say, I want to be aggressive here. I want to do this tackling. I want you to strip. I want you to go for the ball, or I want you to go, be safe and just make sure you tackle the player. You can set all that in game as you're playing. Put it here. Put it here. My defensive game plan, put it right there. Let me set my drops right here, right now. Let me set all that. Still given the ability to on the fly change it in game, right? Just like it is. I'm not telling you to mess with that at all. What I'm saying is put it here instead of this crap. This thing doesn't do anything for me, right? Because it just doesn't, right? You're telling me, okay, I'm gonna have plus 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 for short pass coverage, but guess what? And now all of a sudden, double moves is I'm gonna lose something in double moves, and I'm gonna lose something in intermediate pass coverage, right? But it does nothing as far as run. Like I can't tell them to, be aggressive in their tackling and try to strip the ball. I can't tell them to be conservative and make sure they get the player to the ground. I can't tell them all those things. Put it right here. And then when I go to offense, exact same thing. All the things I can make adjustments for, put it right there, right? Offensive line, I want you to block inside, on run plays. I want to do this. I want my receivers to do this, right? I want them to be aggressive when going for the ball instead of, or conservative or be balanced, right? Set all this up. Also, play calling. You can do it in college. You can say, I want to be aggressive in play calling. In my offensive play calling, I want to be aggressive in my defensive play calling. Do it right here. Put it in the screen. I want to be off. I want to be aggressive. You can even say and set it up so that on first down, I want to be aggressive. On second down, I want to be conservative. On third down, I want to be balanced. And then on fourth down, I want to be safe. I'm just going to punt. And I'm going to punt safely, right? Right? With max protection. Defensively, right? I want to be safe or I want to be aggressive on punts and I'm going for the block every time. You see what I'm saying? And you can put that all in these two screens, and all of a sudden, guess what? Us franchise players feel like we have control over what the game is doing. Why can't you do that? It kills me every time, right? So let's get over here to player health, get into half pads, and then go over here, and you see we got Leggett, Wallace, and Jonathan Brooks, which is confusing that he's here and not available to me on my for my roster, so I will have to check that. I'm just going to um I'm going to have to check that, but we're just going to go ahead, sim right through. So, and then with half pads, the likelihood of injuries in practice are a lot less. So usually halfway through the season, and it's kind of funny because halfway through the season, I turn it off. I turn it to half pads from full pads, and then never even touch it again. And then that way, all subsequent seasons are all just in half pads anyway, right? We got no boost or anything, but that's what we did. So we came, and then I would love to show you the uniform. And then while we're here, let's look at our guy, Jonathan Brooks. Oh, okay. So I can bring him off of IR. So I can say, hey, let's bring him back. We need him. And then now what that means though is I got to cut a player because I got one too many players. But we'll look at JC Horn. I'm not cutting him. I'm just going to show. So we can go in here, and then what I want to do is I hit it this way because I wanted to show you the uniform. So these are the blues. You know what I mean? They're cool. I got no problems with them. You know what I mean? My favorite uniforms are the Dragons, and I was tempted, right? But I can deal with that. I can deal with this, right? Like I said, I wanted to make it kind of random. I just knew I was going to Toronto, so I made everything else random. Toronto, and then so it's the Toronto Blues. So yeah, there it is. That is pretty chill. Okay. So, hey, what we're going to do from this point right now is, like I said, I'm going to figure out what player I need. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to figure out what player needs to go. And part of me wants to just go ahead and cut Felipe Franks, Another part of me wants to just cut Brown and convert Franks back to quarterback. But he's not gonna ever be a good quarterback, so doesn't mean it's like, do I really need to? Um, my and looking at all these guys, as a matter of fact, Blackshear might be the odd man out, or um, might be Windman. I wish I could put him on the practice squad, and I might actually just get rid of somebody off the practice squad and put Windman onto the practice squad. Uh, but yeah. So next up, and next episode would be, um, and then me doing a lot less talking. I have been playing around with the idea of still being there to commentate, right? But not commentate, right? To comment on certain plays, my feelings about, oh, why do we run that? You know what I mean? Just like, oh, nice hit, and then kind of share like some my observations on how I think the team looks or is doing, and is that player, you know, on the right track, or is that player's like really quickly moving themselves out? Well, we're not resigning that guy. You know what I mean? So that is something I'm kind of teetering back and forth. So just remember, like, comment, comment especially. Let me know what you like, what you don't like, and if you think, hey, if we want to make it more kind of chill, where we are watching, it's a sim. We're going to be watching a slow sim of the game, right? One of the things I wish they would do is kind of incorporate more of the NFL head coach stuff into this game. Just add that ability that we can go in and actually call the plays or dictate, or if not call the play, kind of dictate what type of play we're going to run, right? And then what I would love to see is like if we can tell the offense coordinator, run it here, screen pass here, go deep, right? Play action, right? We dictate when the play action should happen, not see a play action pass on the very first play of the game, right? That's okay because that is kind of surprise. But we've been throwing the ball 5 straight times, and then we do a play action. Does that really work there? Do they really believe we're running a ball right now? You know what I'm saying? Play action works if you're actually running the ball and doing it efficiently. Doesn't really work very well if you're not running the ball at all because nobody's believing that you're handing it off. Right now, to start the game, there's a better chance that they might believe you, just because we don't know what you're starting it with. Um, so say play action, but the other thing is go for it. Let us say to the offensive coach, go for it, right? Or say to our special teams coach, kick it out of bounds, onside. Those things, right? Let us dictate those things. If you can't give us the mechanic where we're actually picking the plays, right? Because it's whatever, then let us dictate, what type of play the coordinator is going to call for. So we can tell the defensive player, blitz here, right? Run blitz, safe on the punt return, right? Instead of going for an all out block, right? Let us do this, right? And I think just giving us that ability with more control there allows us to feel like we have, that we are fully in that coach mode, right? In that ability to, we're running things on the field at that point. And like, because that's the kind of player I am. I like to sim through things. I play a little differently than most. What I do is I actually completely sim through the first half, don't even watch it, just fast forward through the first half, and then whatever score that I am handed at halftime, I can be down 24-7. Then that's the obstacle I have to overcome for that game. I can be up 24-7, right? Is it an obstacle? Well, yes, there is. The obstacle is I have to hold on to the lead and keep it, right? I either build on it, keep playing, right? Keep adding to it, or, you know, fight the other team off and walk out with a narrow victory, 31-28 or something. You never know. So, but that's the thing, right? And then there's that randomness there, that element of just randomization there that says, "Hey, this is what you're doing. You're down 21 at half. What are you going to do?" You know what I'm saying? And then I only play the offensive side of the ball and watch the defensive side, right? And very rare, but I will sometimes get so fed up that I'll jump in and play the defensive side. But it's it gets to the point where at times it becomes unfair for me to play both sides. My uh how do you say, my need for control makes it so that I'm not, that I won't in my, this is like I said, this is in my fun time. Will not give up control of the offense, right? Because the offense makes too many stupid calls and won't do what I need, want it, well, what I think it should do. So I'm like, instead of putting up with that, I'm just like, no, I am running the offense. Defense, I don't agree with all the calls that it makes, but it's like, I'm giving them something because if I play defense and offense, then yeah, more than likely we're going to shut down the other team, and we just a matter of how many points we need to score in order to win. Not saying I'm that good at defense because I'm not, and then Madden has changed over the years, but to me, it's the most fun way for me to play. So, but I won't, that's what we're going to do is just watch. So next time around, we're going to get into the very first game that we have. And if I'm not mistaken, we are going to be playing, another team that is in trouble right along with us. That would be the Giants. And then it's the bye week. So next episode will be the Giants game. Probably just no commentary. We'll sit back, and then I get to watch it and evaluate what the team looks like and see what changes I can make this season. I don't think we can get us to 500. Well, you can't get to 500, but I don't think that we can get to a 9-7 record because that would require winning the last 7 games of the season. So, can we get to a 7-10? Right? Can we go, what, 5-3? Because how many games we got? We got 9. We got 8 games left. If we want to get to 10-7, 9-8. That's what it is. 9-8. So we can go 7-1 with the last 8 games. Doubt it. Can we go 5-3? 5-3 was put it at 7 and put us at 7-10 for the overall. But that will also kill whatever draft choice, or put us in like, put us in the teens for picking. And do we want that? Do we want to stay in the top 10? Do we want to stay in the top 5? Right now, we have the number one overall pick right now, right? And then that will be Travis Hunter. If we have it, right? More than likely, it'll probably be Travis Hunter. I don't know. Or do, we say, well, we'll chance it. We want to get to like 6 and 11, 5-12. We want to show that we can win some games. Or we, I mean, the most likely outcome is let's shoot for 4-4. So 6-11 is what we shoot for. We gotta go at least 500 to finish out the season, and then that tells us that we have the capability of winning with some of the players that we have, and then that we can turn things in around, right? And also it helps to keep, when you're watching the game, you can see what you need to tweak as far as the sliders and stuff, and continue to make sure that you want the sliders to work to make it play realistically, but you also don't want to overcome and negate actual ability, right? If you just have a scrub team, then, no matter where the sliders are, your players should be trying, but not succeeding against better, superior opponents, right? So there's a difference there. There's a difference. That's why tweaking the sliders should be a constant thing, just to make sure that, like I said, one thing is people running free and open in the middle of your defense, and another is there's a guy, trailing or trying to prevent him from catching the ball, but just can't because the player is just far superior to him, right? I want my players to be there, and then level of competition dictates who's going to win that battle, right? So that's the big thing for me. Okay, all right, I've talked enough. So we will see you next time. Just remember, the Toronto Blues are now in play. All right, later, guys.